The ultimatum. The crystalline halls of the Varathian Imperial Command echoed with the confident footsteps of High Executor Zrelkoth. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he reviewed the holographic display floating before him. A small blue planet tucked away in an unremarkable arm of the galaxy. Primitive. Defenseless. Perfect. Send the demand, Zrelkoth commanded, his voice resonating through his translator collar. On Earth, in the headquarters of the United Terran Defense Council, Ambassador Chin Marisol stood frozen as the alien transmission filled every screen across the planet. The face that appeared was unlike anything humanity had ever seen: angular, metallic skin, multiple eyes that seemed to pierce through the camera itself. People of Earth, the translated voice boomed. I am High Executor Zrelkoth of the Varathian Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain. You have 72 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. Resist and your species will be reduced to ash. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy. The transmission ended. Secretary General Marcus Okonkwo's hands trembled as he looked around the emergency council chamber. Tell me we have options. Defense Coordinator Yuki Tanaka shook her head slowly. Their initial probe disabled half our satellite network in seconds. Whatever technology they have, it's centuries beyond ours. Then we negotiate, suggested Ambassador Chin. Why time? Make them think we're complying while we... While we what? Interrupted General Rashid Kaleem, his weathered face grim. We've run every simulation. Our missiles barely scratch their smallest ships. Our best weapons are toys to them. An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Then a voice spoke from the doorway. Perhaps that's exactly what we want them to think. Everyone turned. Dr. Evelyn Thorne walked in, her silver hair pulled back, her eyes sharp despite her 70 years. Behind her walked Commander Damian Cross, head of Earth's most classified military research division, Project Prometheus. Dr. Thorne, Marcus stood. This isn't the time for theoretical physics. It's exactly the time, she interrupted. Commander Cross and I need to show you something. Something we've been building for the past 20 years. Something they won't see coming. Zrelkoth reclined in his command throne aboard the Eternal Dominion, the Empire's largest dreadnought. His tactical officer, Subcommander Varix, approached with a data slate. The humans are broadcasting messages, Varix reported. Pleas for mercy. Requests for negotiation. Standard prey behavior. As expected, Zrelkoth clicked his mandibles in amusement. Have they mobilized their military? Yes, Executor. Their largest warships are gathering above their primary continents. Primitive nuclear-powered vessels. Our scouts estimate their entire arsenal could barely damage a single escort frigate. Delightful, Zrelkoth mused. Ensure the invasion fleet is prepared. When the deadline expires, I want to make an example of their military installations. Broadcast it across their planet. Let them watch their protectors fall from the sky like burning rain. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Gobi Desert, Commander Cross stood before a massive sealed door. Behind him, Secretary General Okonkwo and the Defense Council waited, escorted by armed guards who had surrendered all electronic devices. What you're about to see, Cross said, has consumed 40% of the world's classified military budget for 2 decades. We built it not because we expected to use it, but because we understood a fundamental truth about the universe. Which is? Asked Ambassador Chin. Dr. Thorne answered. That humanity would never remain alone. And when we met others, they might not come in peace. The massive door opened with a hiss of pressurized air. The council members stepped inside and froze. The cavern was enormous, stretching kilometers in every direction. And filling it were ships. Not primitive rockets or conventional spacecraft. These were sleek, angular vessels that seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy. Dozens of them, each the size of an aircraft carrier. What? Marcus whispered. How? We reverse-engineered every piece of unusual technology that ever crashed on Earth, Dr. Thorne explained. The materials we couldn't explain. The energy signatures that defied our physics. We didn't just study them. We learned. We adapted. We built. Commander Cross walked toward the nearest ship, running his hand along its dark hull. The Varathians think they're facing a primitive species with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They have no idea we've been preparing for them for decades. But their technology is still superior, General Kaleem protested. You said yourself these are reverse-engineered from crashed objects. They have the originals. True, Cross nodded. In a straight fight we lose. Which is why we won't fight fair. We'll fight human, Yuki Tanaka stepped forward, studying the ships with an engineer's eye. How many of these do we have? 57 combat vessels, Cross replied. Another 32 support craft. And something else. He gestured to the far end of the cavern, where a structure larger than anything else loomed in the shadows. What is that? Ambassador Chin asked. Dr. Thorne smiled grimly. That's our ace in the hole. The Varathians call their biggest ship the Eternal Dominion. We call ours the Prometheus. And it's about to teach these invaders why you never underestimate humanity. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zrelkoth watched the countdown with satisfaction. 12 hours until the deadline. 12 hours until Earth learned its place in the Empire. Executor, Varix approached again. The humans have stopped broadcasting. Their military ships are still in position, but there's been no further communication. Silent acceptance, Zrelkoth concluded. They know resistance is futile. Prepare the invasion force anyway. I want their surrender to be absolute. But in the depths of the Gobi Desert, Commander Cross stood before his assembled crew. 2,000 of Earth's finest pilots, soldiers, and scientists. Each had volunteered. Each understood the odds. In 6 hours, Cross announced, the Varathian Empire expects us to surrender. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before. We're going to show them that humanity doesn't just fight to win. We fight to survive. And we've been surviving for 200,000 years. He paused, looking at each face. The Varathians think they're facing a primitive species. They're wrong. They're facing humanity. And we're about to remind the galaxy why that should terrify them. The crews moved to their ships. Dr. Thorne stood beside Marcus Okonkwo, watching the preparations. Do we have a chance? Marcus asked quietly. We always have a chance, Evelyn replied. That's the thing about humans. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. We're not even the smartest. But we're the most stubborn, creative, and unpredictable species that ever crawled out of a gravity well. And that, Mr. Secretary General, is about to be their biggest mistake. The countdown continued. The Varathian Empire had made an assumption, that humanity was weak. They were about to learn the cost of that assumption. The first strike. 6 hours before the deadline, the Varathian invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 warships, each larger than anything humanity had ever launched into space. High Executor Zrelkoth stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching the blue planet rotate peacefully in the distance. All ships report ready status, Varix announced. Weapons charged. Jump coordinates locked. On your command, we can be in Earth orbit in 30 seconds. Zrelkoth's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. No. Let them see us coming. Let them feel the despair build for 6 more hours. Sometimes the anticipation of doom is more valuable than the doom itself. The fleet hung at the system's edge like a swarm of predatory insects, their weapons glowing with barely restrained power. On Earth, the broadcast had begun. Every screen, every device showed the same image, the Varathian fleet, magnified and enhanced, filling the sky with impossible menace. Panic rippled through cities. Some people ran. Others prayed. Governments tried to maintain order, but fear was spreading faster than any official statement could contain. In the hidden bunker beneath the Gobi Desert, Commander Cross watched the same feeds with grim determination. They're showing off, trying to break our will before they fire a shot. Is it working? Asked Lieutenant Sarah Voss, his second in command. She was young, barely 30, but she'd earned her position through brilliance in tactical theory. For the civilians? Yes. Cross turned to face his assembled officers. For us. It's giving us exactly what we need, time and arrogance. They're so confident we're beaten that they're not even scanning for threats. They're just waiting. Dr. Thorne entered the command center, pulling off her protective gear. The Prometheus is ready. All systems are stable. Though I should mention that we've only run simulations. This will be the first time we've actually fired the main weapon. Comforting, muttered Major Rio Santos, the chief weapons officer. The fleet? Cross asked. Crews are aboard. Reactors are warming up. We can launch in 20 minutes. Lieutenant Voss pulled up a tactical display. But Commander, they outnumber us 6-1. Even with our tech advantage, those are terrible odds. Then we don't fight them 6-1, Cross said simply. We fight them human. He activated the main display, showing the Varathian fleet's formation. Look at this. They're arranged in a standard Imperial battle formation. Big ships in the center, escorts on the flanks, support vessels in the rear. It's textbook, efficient, logical. And, asked Captain Mira Zelenko, commander of the stealth squadron. And humans don't fight textbook battles. We fight dirty, desperate, and unpredictable. Cross-traced vectors on the screen. The Varathians are used to enemies who follow the same tactical doctrines they do. They expect honorable combat, clear battle lines, predictable responses. He smiled coldly. We're going to hit them with everything they don't expect. Ambushes, feints, psychological warfare. Tactics that would make a Varathian commander question our sanity. Because that's the thing about humanity, when we're desperate, we're willing to try anything. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zrelkoth received an update from his science officer. Executor, we've completed our scan of Earth's orbital space. As expected, their satellites are primitive. Their space stations are unarmed research facilities. We detect no weapons platforms, no defense grids, nothing that poses any threat. Their ships? Zrelkoth asked. Still clustered above their major population centers. No movement. We believe they're waiting to see if we'll negotiate despite the deadline expiring. Zrelkoth laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Pathetic. Very well. We move in 20 minutes. I want their cities watching when we vaporize their military. Let them see what happens to those who delay Imperial will. But beneath the Gobi Desert, something was changing. The massive hangar doors, camouflaged to look like ordinary desert terrain, began to open. Sand cascaded down as hydraulics groaned, revealing the darkness beneath. Commander Cross sat in the captain's chair of the TFS Defiant, Earth's first true warship. Around him, his bridge crew worked through final checks with practiced efficiency. All ships report ready, Lieutenant Voss announced from her station. Stealth systems active. They won't see us coming. Prometheus? Cross asked. Dr. Thorne's voice came through from the massive ship's bridge. We're ready, Commander. Though I want it noted for posterity that jumping a vessel this size through a quantum slip point we've only theoretically tested is absolutely insane. Noted, Cross replied. If we die, I'll make sure it's in the report. All ships, this is Cross. Today we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show the galaxy what humanity means. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and everyone expects us to lose. So let's show them why that's their mistake. Launch in 30 seconds. He switched to a private channel. Sarah, you remember the plan? Lieutenant Voss nodded, though her hands trembled slightly on her console. Hit fast. Hit hard. Make them angry. Make them chase us. And lead them straight into hell. She managed a tight smile. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. This is the craziest plan I've ever heard. And I'm from New York, so I've heard some crazy things. Cross laughed. Good. If we thought it was sane, the Varathians might predict it. Crazy is our advantage. Launch in 10, 9, 8. The countdown reached 0. 57 human warships erupted from hidden launch bays across Earth. Not just from the Gobi Desert, but from the Amazon Basin, the Australian outback, the depths of the Pacific Ocean. They had been hiding in plain sight for 2 decades, waiting for this moment. The Varathian sensors registered them immediately. Executor. The tactical officer's voice held shock. New contacts. Multiple ships emerging from Earth's surface. Zrelkoth spun to face the display. What he saw made no sense. Ships. Dozens of them. And not primitive chemical rockets. These were energy signatures similar to Varathian technology. Impossible, he breathed. They have no interstellar capability. Our intelligence was wrong, Varix finished, his own voice shaking. Executor, those ships, they're armed with directed energy weapons. Plasma torpedoes. Kinetic barriers. These are military vessels. For the first time in his long career, Zrelkoth felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Battle stations, he ordered. All ships intercept formation. Destroy those vessels before they... He never finished the sentence. The TFS Defiant, along with 20 other human ships, vanished from sensors. Where did they go? Zrelkoth demanded. Unknown. They just disappeared. The sensor officer frantically worked his console. No debris field. No warp signatures. They're just gone. What the Varathians didn't know, couldn't know, was that humanity had cracked something the Empire hadn't. Short-range quantum tunneling. Not hyperspace, not warp drives, but something else entirely. The ability to slip between dimensions for brief moments, reappearing kilometers away in an instant. The human fleet scattered like a swarm of hornets, each ship blinking in and out of reality, closing the distance to the Varathian fleet with impossible speed. This isn't possible. Varric shouted. They're primitive. They shouldn't have this technology. Clearly, Zrelkoth growled, our intelligence was catastrophically wrong. All ships, defensive posture. Do not let them close the TFS Defiant materialized 200 meters from a Varathian escort frigate. Commander Cross didn't hesitate. Fire. Plasma torpedoes tore through space, slamming into the Varathian shields. The alien ship staggered, its barriers flickering but holding. Shields are stronger than we calculated, Voss reported. We'll need sustained fire to punch through. Then we don't fight their shields, Cross said. He opened the tactical channel. All ships, execute Protocol Hornet. Swarm tactics. Multiple targets. Make them divide their fire. The human ships stopped fighting like a conventional fleet. Instead, they moved like Earth's insects, chaotic, unpredictable, attacking from every angle. 3 ships would strike one target, then quantum jump away before the Varathians could return fire. Others would feint at one ship, then vanish and strike another. The Varathian fleet, trained for grand battles between mighty warships, suddenly found itself fighting an enemy that refused to follow the rules. They're everywhere. A Varathian commander screamed over the comm, I can't get a lock. They keep disappearing in. His ship exploded as 5 human vessels struck simultaneously, their combined firepower overwhelming the shields in one concentrated burst. Zrelkoth watched in growing horror as his perfectly arranged battle formation dissolved into chaos. Regroup. Maintain discipline. There are only 50 ships. But discipline meant nothing against an enemy that attacked like a plague of insects rather than an army. Commander Cross allowed himself a grim smile as the battle unfolded according to plan. The Varathians were powerful, yes, but they were fighting the wrong battle. And humanity was just getting started. Phase 1 complete, he announced. Now comes Phase 2. Make them angry. Make them chase us. Lieutenant Voss, target their pride. With pleasure, sir. The TFS Defiant materialized directly in front of the Eternal Dominion, close enough that both ships filled each other's view screens. On the Varathian bridge, Zrelkoth stared in shock at the primitive ship that dared approach his flagship. Then the ship broadcast a message. A human face appeared, Commander Cross smiling coldly. High Executor Zrelkoth. Thank you for the 72-hour warning. We used it well. Now let me give you a courtesy in return. You have one chance to retreat. Leave our system and we'll let you live. Stay and learn why Earth has survived for billions of years. The transmission ended. Zrelkoth's 4 eyes blazed with rage. Kill them. All ships converge on that vessel. I want its crew captured alive so I can personally. The TFS Defiant vanished. But it reappeared exactly where Cross wanted it to, 3,000 kilometers away, directly on the vector leading away from Earth. Come on, Cross muttered, watching his sensors. Take the bait. Chase us. Get angry and stupid. On the Eternal Dominion, Zrelkoth did exactly that. Pursuit course. All ships follow that vessel. I want them destroyed. Varric hesitated. Executor, this could be a trap. I don't care. They dared insult the Empire. They will be punished. The Varathian fleet, massive and powerful, turned as one and began to chase the fleeing human ships. Behind them, unnoticed in the heat of battle, something else was happening. The Prometheus, Earth's largest ship, began to move. Dr. Evelyn Thorne stood on its bridge, watching the enemy fleet pursue her comrades into the darkness of space. They took the bait, she said quietly. Prepare the weapon. Let's show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The real battle was about to begin. The trap springs. Commander Cross watched his tactical display as the Varathian fleet pursued his ships deeper into the solar system. Away from Earth. Away from safety. Exactly as planned. Distance from Earth? He asked. 4 million kilometers and increasing, Lieutenant Voss reported. They're maintaining pursuit speed. Still angry. Good. Angry commanders make mistakes. Cross opened the fleet channel. All ships maintain evasive pattern Delta 7. Make them think we're running scared. Don't let them realize we're hurting them. 20 human ships danced through space ahead of the Varathian armada, quantum jumping just far enough to stay out of weapons range, close enough to keep the enemy engaged. It was a deadly game, and one wrong calculation would mean instant death. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zrelkoth's tactical officer was beginning to have doubts. Executor, we've been pursuing for 18 minutes. We're now beyond optimal support range from Earth orbit. If this is a trap. It's not a trap, Zrelkoth snapped. They're fleeing. Look at them. They strike once, damage a few escorts, then run with their tails between their legs. This is the behavior of a beaten enemy trying to survive. But sir, their tactics are desperation. They know they can't win a direct engagement, so they use these cowardly hit-and-run attacks. Zrelkoth studied the pursuit vectors. We have 300 ships. They have maybe 50. Even with their strange jumping technology, they can't hide forever. Eventually they'll run out of places to jump, and when they do, we'll crush them. What Zrelkoth didn't know was that Commander Cross was counting on exactly that arrogance. Status of Prometheus? Cross asked on a secure channel. Dr. Thorne's voice came through clearly. We're in position. Hidden behind Earth's moon, completely dark. They don't know we're here. The weapon. Charging. We'll be ready in 7 minutes. Good. Because we need to keep them distracted for 7 more minutes. Cross switched back to fleet-wide. All ships execute pattern mayhem. Let's give them something to really chase. The human fleet suddenly split into 5 groups, each darting off in different directions. The Varathian fleet, committed to the pursuit, was forced to divide as well. They're scattering. Varix reported. Executor, if we split our forces. Do it. Zrelkoth commanded. I want every human ship destroyed. Divide the fleet into hunter groups. Run them down. The Varathian armada split apart, each group pursuing a different cluster of human ships. It was tactically sound, used superior numbers to overwhelm the scattered enemy. It was also exactly what Cross wanted. They're dividing their forces, Lieutenant Voss observed. Just like you predicted. Basic pack hunting instincts, Cross replied. Predators always split up to chase scattered prey. They can't help themselves. He pulled up the orbital mechanics display. How long until Jupiter alignment? 3 minutes. Cross smiled. Jupiter. Humanity's largest planet. And in 3 minutes, its gravity well would be in perfect position for what came next. Captain Mira Zelenko commanded the stealth squadron, 12 ships equipped with the most advanced cloaking technology Earth had ever built. They'd been hiding in the shadow of Jupiter's moon Europa, completely undetected for the past hour. Captain, her sensor officer whispered as if the Varathians might hear them. The enemy hunter groups are approaching. 5 groups, 40 ships each. They're spread out just like command predicted. Mira checked her tactical overlay. The Varathian ships were moving through the Jupiter system, hunting for the human vessels that had fled in this direction. They had no idea they were flying into a kill zone. All ships, Mira transmitted on the tightest beam possible. Weapons hot. Pick your targets. Wait for my signal. The Varathian hunter group moved deeper into Jupiter's gravity well, their sensors scanning for any sign of the enemy. Nothing, the Varathian group commander reported to the Eternal Dominion. The human ships that fled this direction have vanished. Keep searching, Zrelkoth ordered. They have to be somewhere. Commander, his science officer said nervously. Jupiter's gravity well is creating interference. Our sensors are degraded. We should pull back to find them. Zrelkoth bit off each word. The hunter group pressed deeper. On Europa, Captain Zelenko watched the enemy ships move into optimal firing position. They were completely focused on finding the obvious threat, never considering there might be a hidden one. Now, she whispered. 12 human ships decloaked simultaneously, already firing. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space, catching the Varathian formation completely by surprise. Shields flared and died under the concentrated assault. 2 Varathian ships exploded instantly. 3 more were crippled, their hulls rupturing, atmosphere venting into space. The surviving Varathian ships tried to return fire, but the human vessels were already moving, using Jupiter's massive gravity to slingshot around the planet at incredible speeds. Speeds no ship under power could match. What are they doing? The Varathian commander screamed. They're going to crash into the planet. But the human ships knew exactly what they were doing. They'd practiced this maneuver 1,000 times in simulation. Using Jupiter's gravity like a whip, they accelerated to impossible velocities, then quantum jumped at the perfect moment, reappearing behind the Varathian formation. The Varathian ships never had a chance. Captain Zelenko's squadron tore through them like wolves among sheep, striking from angles the enemy couldn't defend, using the planet's radiation and gravity to mask their approach until it was too late. Within 4 minutes, an entire Varathian hunter group was destroyed. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zrelkoth watched in horror as his tactical display showed the hunter group's signals winking out, one by one. What happened? He demanded. Ambush, Varix reported, his voice hollow. They were waiting. They used Jupiter's gravity and radiation to hide. Our ships never saw them coming. The other hunter groups. Also engaging. Reports are confused. The humans are using the asteroid belt as cover, hiding in the ice rings of Saturn, emerging from behind moons. Executor, they know this system. Every moon, every gravity well, every radiation shadow. They're using their home ground advantage against us. For the first time, Zrelkoth began to truly understand what was happening. They weren't running. They were leading us into their killing ground. Orders, sir? Zrelkoth's pride warred with his tactical sense. Pride said to press forward, to crush these impudent primitives. Tactical sense said to regroup, reassess, maybe even retreat. Pride won. All ships converge on my position. We regroup and return to Earth orbit. If they want to play games in their system, fine. We'll reduce their planet to ash while they watch from a distance. Sir, if we return to Earth. Do it. The scattered Varathian fleet began to turn, moving back toward Earth. But they'd been pulled deep into the solar system and the journey back would take time. Time that Commander Cross had been buying. All human ships, fall back to Rally Point Artemis, he ordered. Mission accomplished. We pulled them away from Earth. Now comes the hard part. Dr. Thorne, he transmitted. Tell me you're ready. On the Prometheus, hidden behind Earth's moon, Dr. Evelyn Thorne stood before the weapons console. The main view screen showed the Varathian fleet beginning its return to Earth. They'd be in orbit in 20 minutes. The Zeus cannon is fully charged, she reported. Commander, I should mention that we've never fired this at full power. The theoretical models say it will work, but will it destroy their flagship? If it doesn't, Evelyn said grimly, then nothing we have will. Cross made his decision. Target the Eternal Dominion. Fire when ready. Evelyn turned to her weapons officer, a young man named Thomas Chin who'd spent 5 years helping build the Zeus cannon. Tom, you heard the commander. This is what we built it for. Tom's hands trembled as he entered the firing sequence. Targeting the Eternal Dominion. Range, 6 million kilometers. Gravitational lensing calculated. Quantum tunneling aperture opening in 3, 2, 1. Space itself seemed to tear open. The Zeus cannon wasn't a conventional weapon. It didn't fire energy or projectiles through normal space. Instead, it created a quantum tunnel, a brief, temporary wormhole, that connected 2 points in spacetime instantly. And through that tunnel, it fired a beam of pure antimatter. The beam emerged from quantum space directly inside the Eternal Dominion's shield perimeter. Shields meant nothing because the weapon never touched them. It appeared inside them, bypassing every defense the Varathians had. The antimatter beam struck the Eternal Dominion's portside hull. For a moment nothing happened. Then the antimatter began reacting with normal matter. Zrelkoth looked up in confusion as alarms suddenly shrieked throughout his ship. What is? The explosion lit up the solar system. The Eternal Dominion, pride of the Varathian Empire, a ship that had conquered 100 worlds, tore itself apart from the inside. The antimatter reaction consumed everything it touched, converting matter to energy in blinding bursts that ripped through deck after deck. Zrelkoth had just enough time to realize he'd made a terrible mistake. These humans weren't primitive. They were dangerous. Then the bridge erupted in white light, and High Executor Zrelkoth ceased to exist. Across the Varathian fleet, every ship's sensors registered the impossible. Their flagship, their command vessel, their symbol of imperial might, had just been destroyed by an enemy they dismissed as insignificant. Commander Cross watched the explosion on his display. He felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. All human ships, he transmitted. The Varathian commander is dead. Their flagship is destroyed. Now we end this. Attack pattern Omega. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The human fleet, no longer running, turned and struck. And the Varathian Empire learned a lesson they would never forget. The turning tide. The destruction of the Eternal Dominion sent shockwaves through the Varathian fleet, both literal and psychological. Subcommander Varix, aboard the heavy cruiser Savage Retribution, suddenly found himself the ranking officer of an armada that had just watched its leader vaporized by an impossible weapon. All ships, this is Subcommander Varix, he transmitted, trying to keep his voice steady. Assume defensive formation Beta 9. Do not, I repeat, do not engage the humans until we can assess their capabilities. But panic had already set in. The Varathian fleet, trained for conquest and accustomed to easy victories, had never faced an enemy that could strike at them with such devastating precision. Some ships began to retreat. Others, driven by rage and shock, charged forward recklessly. The discipline that had made the Varathian Empire great crumbled in the face of the impossible. Commander Cross saw the enemy formation dissolving on his tactical display. "They're breaking," he said. "Lieutenant Voss, signal all ships. We press the advantage now. Don't let them regroup." The human fleet surged forward, no longer the fleeing prey but the attacking predator. 57 ships against nearly 300. By any logical calculation, humanity should have been destroyed. But logic had left this battlefield the moment the Prometheus fired. Captain Mira Zelenko's stealth squadron emerged from the asteroid belt like ghosts, their cloaking devices allowing them to strike at the confused Varathian rearguard. Her ship, the TFS Shadow, materialized alongside a Varathian destroyer. "Target their engines," Mira ordered. "Cripple them, don't destroy them. We want prisoners." Plasma torpedoes lanced out, precisely striking the destroyer's propulsion systems. The Varathian ship shuddered to a halt, dead in space but intact. "Boarding teams go," Mira commanded. This was another advantage humanity had prepared. While the Varathians fought with overwhelming firepower, expecting their enemies to simply die or surrender, humans had trained for something different: capture and interrogation. Marine Lieutenant Jackson Reeves led his team through the airlock, cutting through the destroyer's hull with plasma torches. They moved in zero gravity with practiced ease, their powered armor giving them both protection and strength. The Varathian crew, already demoralized, put up minimal resistance. Within 20 minutes, the destroyer was secured. "Captain Zelenko," Jackson transmitted. "Ship secured. We have 73 prisoners, including the ship's tactical officer. And ma'am, you're going to want to see what we found in their computer core." On the bridge of the TFS Defiant, Commander Cross received Zelenko's report with grim interest. "What did they find?" "Intelligence data," Mira replied. "The Varathians have been watching Earth for 10 years. They know about our major cities, our governments, our military installations. But Commander, they have nothing about Project Prometheus. Nothing about our ships. Nothing about our weapons. They thought we were defenseless because that's what they wanted to see." Cross felt a chill. They didn't just underestimate us. They ignored evidence that contradicted their assumptions. There's more. According to their records, they've done this to 14 other species. Show up, demand surrender, overwhelm with force. It's worked every time. They expected us to follow the pattern. "They're bullies," Lieutenant Voss said quietly. "They've never faced someone who hit back." Cross nodded slowly. "Then let's teach them what happens when the victim fights back. Continue the offensive. And get that tactical officer to Dr. Thorne. She'll want to debrief him personally." Aboard the Savage Retribution, Subcommander Varix struggled to maintain control of the deteriorating situation. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. 3 more ships destroyed, 2 captured, 5 heavily damaged. The humans were everywhere, striking from impossible angles, using weapons and tactics the Varathian battle computers couldn't predict. "Subcommander," his science officer called out. "I've completed an analysis of the weapon that destroyed the Eternal Dominion." "Sir, it's impossible." "Explain." "The weapon created a temporary quantum tunnel, bypassing normal space entirely. The energy requirements alone should be impossible for a species at their technological level. And the precision, they struck us from 6 million kilometers away, through our shields, directly into the ship's core. This suggests a scientific understanding that rivals or exceeds our own." Varix felt his confidence crumbling. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we've made a catastrophic error. These humans aren't primitive. They've been hiding their true capabilities. And now we're paying the price for underestimating them." A communications officer interrupted. "Subcommander, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. It's directed at you personally." Varix straightened. "Show me." Commander Cross's face appeared on the view screen. He looked tired but determined. "Subcommander Varix. I'm Commander Damian Cross of the Terran Defense Fleet. You're now in command of what remains of your invasion force. I'm offering you a choice." "Humans don't offer choices to the Varathian Empire," Varix replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "Today we do," Cross continued. "You can continue fighting. You'll lose more ships. More of your people will die. Or you can withdraw. Take your fleet and leave our system. Tell your empire that Earth is not defenseless. Tell them that humanity will defend itself with every weapon at our disposal. And if we refuse?" Cross's expression hardened. "Then we demonstrate what the Zeus cannon can do to your remaining ships. One by one. Until there's nothing left but debris and regret." Varix looked at his tactical display. 67 Varathian ships destroyed or captured. The rest damaged, demoralized, scattered. His fleet still outnumbered the humans 4-1, but numbers meant nothing if his ships couldn't hit their targets. You're asking me to surrender. I'm asking you to survive, Cross corrected. And to learn. The galaxy is bigger than your empire, Varix. There are species out here who won't bow to threats. We're one of them. Remember that. The transmission ended. Varix stood in silence, aware that every officer on his bridge was watching him, waiting for orders. The tactical officer spoke carefully. Sir, we could still overwhelm them with numbers. If we coordinate a mass assault. And lose another 100 ships? Varix interrupted. For what? To claim we conquered a species that was clearly capable of destroying us? To tell the Empire that High Executor Zrelkoth died because he refused to recognize a worthy opponent. He made his decision. All ships, this is Subcommander Varix. Cease fire. Begin withdrawal from the Sol system. We're going home. Sir. The tactical officer protested. The Empire will. The Empire will have to face the truth, Varix said quietly. That we encountered a species unlike any we've faced before. A species that fights with cunning, preparation, and a willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. We don't conquer species like that. We learn to respect them. The Varathian fleet began its withdrawal, leaving behind wreckage and a message that would echo through the Empire. On Earth, people watched as the alien ships retreated. The panic that had gripped the planet just hours ago transformed into cautious celebration. They had faced annihilation and survived. Commander Cross stood in the command center, watching the enemy fleet jump to hyperspace. Dr. Thorne approached, her expression thoughtful. We won, she said. But this is just the beginning, isn't it? Yes, Cross agreed. We showed them we can defend ourselves. But we also showed them we have technology they want. Other species will come. Some will try to conquer us. Others will try to trade with us. A few might even try to destroy us before we become too powerful. What do? Cross smiled grimly. What humanity always does. We prepare. We adapt. We survive. And we make damn sure that anyone who threatens Earth learns the same lesson the Varathians did today. Secretary General Marcus Okonkwo entered the command center, his face drawn with exhaustion but his eyes bright with purpose. Commander Cross. Dr. Thorne. The Security Council has voted unanimously. We're establishing the Terran Defense Fleet as a permanent organization. We're no longer hiding. We're going to the stars. The galaxy isn't going to like that, Dr. Thorne observed. No, Marcus agreed. But after today the galaxy knows that humanity doesn't ask permission. We take our place among the stars on our own terms. And if anyone objects. He gestured to the view screen showing the retreating Varathian fleet. We've already shown them what happens. In the depths of space, aboard the Savage Retribution, Subcommander Varix prepared his report to the Varathian High Council. It would be the most difficult report he'd ever written. How do you tell an empire that has conquered for 10,000 years that they've finally met their match? That a species they'd dismissed as primitive had beaten them with tactics, technology, and a ferocity born of desperation? That humanity had changed the balance of power in the galaxy? Varix looked at the star chart, seeing Earth as a small blue dot in an unremarkable corner of space. So small. So fragile. Yet so dangerous. Note to High Council. He dictated to his computer. Recommend immediate reclassification of species. Human. Threat level, critical. Recommendation. Avoid all future contact unless absolutely necessary. Humanity is not to be conquered. They are to be respected, feared, and left alone. He paused, then added one final line. We came to subjugate Earth. Instead, we discovered something the Empire has not faced in centuries. An equal. Perhaps even a superior. The galaxy has changed. And we must change with it or face extinction. The report was sent. The message was clear. Humanity had struck back. And the galaxy would never be the same. The cost of victory. 3 days after the Battle of Sol, Earth was still counting the cost of its victory. In the medical bay of the TFS Defiant, Dr. Nisha Patel worked tirelessly among the wounded. 37 pilots and crew members had been killed in the fighting. Another 112 were injured, some critically. Each represented someone who had stood between Earth and annihilation. Doctor, a nurse called. Captain Zelenko is awake. Nisha hurried to the captain's bedside. Mira Zelenko's face was bruised, her arm in a regeneration sleeve where shrapnel had torn through her ship's bridge during the final engagement. Report, Mira whispered hoarsely. You're supposed to rest, Nisha replied gently. But since you'll just worry yourself worse, we saved your arm. You'll be back to full duty in 2 weeks. My crew. 3 injured, none serious. Your ship took heavy damage but she's reparable. Nisha paused. You're lucky. The TFS Valiant wasn't as fortunate. 16 dead when a Varathian plasma torpedo penetrated their reactor shielding. Mira closed her eyes. I knew those people. Trained with some of them. They saved Earth, Nisha said quietly. That's what heroes do. They pay the price so others don't have to. In the wreckage field where the battle had raged, recovery teams searched for survivors and salvaged what they could. Commander Cross watched from the Defiance Bridge as another body was recovered from a destroyed human ship, the TFS Thunderchild, which had sacrificed itself to protect 3 other vessels from a Varathian assault. 37 dead, Lieutenant Voss said softly beside him. For a species of 8 billion it's a small number. But each one was someone's child, Cross finished. Someone's parent. Someone's friend. We won the battle, Sarah. But the war, the real war for Earth's survival in a hostile galaxy, that's just beginning. On the surface of Earth, in Geneva, the United Terran Defense Council convened in emergency session. Every nation sent representatives. The invasion had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. There were no Americans or Chinese or Europeans or Africans in that chamber, only humans who had stared at extinction and decided to fight back. Secretary-General Marcus Okonkwo addressed the assembly. The Varathian Empire came to conquer Earth. We drove them away. But intelligence recovered from captured ships tells us something disturbing. The Varathians were only one empire among many. There are dozens of spacefaring civilizations out there. Some peaceful. Most not. We can no longer hide behind the fiction that we're alone in the universe. Ambassador Chinmarisol stood. Mr. Secretary-General, what are you proposing? Full disclosure, Marcus replied. The world deserves to know the truth. About Project Prometheus. About the ships we built in secret. About the fact that humanity has been preparing for first contact for 20 years. And about what comes next. Which is? Asked General Kaleem. Dr. Evelyn Thorne rose to answer. We go to the stars. Not as conquerors but as explorers and defenders. We build more ships. We establish colonies beyond Earth. We make alliances with peaceful species and demonstrate to hostile ones that humanity is not prey. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were excited. Others were terrified. All understood that the world had changed forever. In a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Major Rio Santos supervised the interrogation of captured Varathian prisoners. The highest-ranking captive was Commander Thexol, who had commanded one of the captured destroyers. Rio sat across from the alien in an interrogation room designed to accommodate non-human physiology. Thexol's 4 eyes studied him with a mixture of curiosity and resentment. You fight well for primitives, Thexol said through the translation collar. We're not primitives, Rio replied calmly. Your intelligence was flawed. Clearly. Thexol shifted in his restraints. I have reviewed your tactics. The quantum jumping, the gravity assists, the ambushes. These are not the strategies of a newly spacefaring species. How long have you been preparing? 20 years, give or take. Thexol made a sound that the translator interpreted as bitter laughter. 20 years. While the Empire dismissed you as irrelevant, you were building an armada in secret. Ingenious. Paranoid but ingenious. Not paranoid, Rio corrected. Cautious. We've studied Earth's history. Every time one civilization encountered another with superior technology, the weaker civilization suffered. We decided we wouldn't be the weaker civilization. And now we need information. About the galaxy. About other species. About threats we might face. Rio leaned forward. I'm not going to torture you, Commander. But I am going to appeal to your sense of self-preservation. Subcommander Varix withdrew because he was smart enough to recognize a fight he couldn't win. You're a survivor too. Help us understand what's out there, and when you're eventually released, you can go home with honor. Thexol considered this. You would release us? Eventually. When Earth is secure enough that releasing you poses no threat. We're not interested in keeping prisoners forever. We're interested in surviving. The Varathian commander was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. What do you want to know? Rio pulled up a star chart. Start with your neighbors. Who else is out there? Which species are hostile? Which are potential allies? Thexol began to talk, and Rio learned that the galaxy was far more complicated and far more dangerous than even humanity's worst fears had imagined. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, the Prometheus hung in space near Earth's moon. The massive ship bore scars from the battle, scorch marks where Varathian weapons had tested its shields, hull breaches sealed with temporary patches. But it had survived, and now Dr. Evelyn Thorne walked its corridors with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. She entered the Zeus cannon chamber, where the weapon that had destroyed the Eternal Dominion sat silent and dark. Thomas Chin was there, running diagnostic tests. "Tom," Evelyn said gently, "you should rest." "Can't," the young weapons officer replied without looking up. "Need to understand why it worked. The theoretical model said there was a 30% chance the quantum tunnel would collapse and destroy us along with the target. But it held perfectly. I need to know why." "Tom." Evelyn's voice was firmer now. "You built a weapon that saved Earth. You did your job. Now you need to take care of yourself." Thomas finally looked up, and Evelyn saw the exhaustion and trauma in his eyes. "Doctor, I killed hundreds of people today. Maybe thousands. I pressed a button and an entire ship full of living beings ceased to exist. How do I live with that?" Evelyn sat beside him. "The same way soldiers have lived with it throughout human history. You remind yourself why you did it. Those beings came to destroy us. To conquer Earth. To enslave or exterminate humanity. You didn't start the fight, Tom. You just finished it. And because of you, 8 billion people on Earth are still alive. Does that make it right?" "No," Evelyn admitted. "Taking life is never right. But sometimes it's necessary. And sometimes the weight of that necessity falls on people like us. We carry it so others don't have to." She put a hand on his shoulder. "You're not a murderer, Tom. You're a protector. Remember that. On Earth, in cities across the globe, people tried to return to normal life. But everything had changed. The sky no longer felt infinite and empty, it felt full of possibilities and dangers. Children looked up at the stars with new wonder and new fear. Adults walked the streets with a strange mixture of pride and anxiety. Humanity had won its first battle against an alien empire. But everyone knew it wouldn't be the last. In New York, a young girl named Maya Okafor stood on her apartment balcony, looking at the night sky. Her mother, Lieutenant Commander Amara Okafor, had piloted one of the ships that fought the Varathians. She'd come home that afternoon, exhausted but alive. "Mama," Maya asked, "will they come back?" Amara put her arm around her daughter. "Maybe. But if they do, we'll be ready. That's what humans do, baby. We prepare. We adapt. We survive. Are you scared?" "Terrified," Amara admitted. "But I'm also proud. Proud of what we accomplished. Proud that when the time came to defend our home, we didn't surrender. We fought back." Maya thought about this. "Will we go to the stars now? Like in the stories?" "Yes," Amara smiled. "We're going to the stars. And maybe we'll find friends out there. Or maybe just more enemies. But whatever we find, humanity will face it together. That's our strength, Maya. Not our weapons or our ships. Our unity. Our refusal to give up." The little girl looked at the stars with new eyes, seeing not just points of light but possibilities. Dangers and wonders. Threats and opportunities. The future of humanity stretched before her, uncertain but full of potential. And somewhere in that vast darkness, other species were learning that Earth was no longer defenseless. That humanity had claimed its place among the stars. And that anyone who threatened the small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system would face consequences they couldn't imagine. The battle of Sol was over. But humanity's journey among the stars had just begun. Galactic reverberations. The news of the Varathian defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the capital world of the Kelthran Collective, High Chancellor Ziraeth watched the intelligence reports with growing concern. "Confirm this data," she ordered her intelligence chief. "Already confirmed through 3 independent sources, Chancellor," the officer replied. The Varathian Empire's Third Fleet encountered a species designated as human, in a system they call Sol. The fleet was destroyed or driven off with significant losses. High Executor Zrelkoth was killed. Ziraeth's feathers ruffled, a sign of agitation in her species. The Varathians haven't lost a fleet engagement in 2 centuries. What weapons did these humans use? Multiple types. Quantum displacement drives that allow near-instantaneous repositional jumps. Precision gravity manipulation for tactical advantage. And something our analysts are calling a quantum tunnel weapon that bypasses conventional shielding entirely. Impossible. That level of technology should require centuries of development. Yet the evidence is clear, Chancellor. The intelligence chief pulled up tactical recordings recovered from escaped Varathian ships. The humans fought with creativity and ruthlessness. They used their home system's geography as a weapon. They employed tactics no battle computer could predict. And they refused to surrender even when facing overwhelming odds. Zirath watched the footage of human ships dancing through space, striking from impossible angles, disappearing and reappearing like ghosts. What do we know about them? Very little. The Varathians dismissed them as primitive based on limited long-range observation. Clearly that was an error. The humans had been preparing for first contact for decades, building a hidden military fleet while appearing defenseless. Cunning? Zirath murmured. Or paranoid? Perhaps both, Chancellor. What are your orders? Send an official communication to this United Terran Defense Council. Inform them that the Kelthran Collective respects their sovereignty and wishes to establish diplomatic relations. And send a private message to our border fleets. Under no circumstances are they to approach human space without explicit authorization. We've seen what happens to those who threaten them. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Some species viewed humanity with curiosity, others with fear, and a few with ambition. But all agreed on one thing: the balance of power had shifted. On the Hepter merchant vessel Windseeker, Captain Crostar studied the new star charts his navigation AI had generated. The Sol system, previously marked as primitive/non-contact, was now flagged with a red warning symbol. Nav, he called to his pilot. Plot a new route around human space. Give them a wide berth. Afraid, Captain? His first mate, a young Hepter named Vex, asked with amusement. Cautious, Crostar corrected. I've been trading these routes for 40 years. I've learned to recognize patterns. Species that can defeat a Varathian fleet are species you don't surprise with an unannounced visit. If we want to trade with the humans eventually, we approach properly with respect and clear intentions. You think they'll be open to trade? Every species needs resources. And if they're building more ships, which they certainly are, they'll need materials they can't easily acquire in their own system. That's where traders like us come in. But only if we're smart about it. Vex looked at the star chart. The galaxy is going to change, isn't it? It already has, Crostar replied. We just don't know what that means yet. In the war chambers of the Skrellian Horde, Warlord Brathak listened to the reports with very different intentions than the peaceful Kelthran or the cautious Hepter. These humans have weapons we want, he growled to his officers. Quantum tunnel technology. Displacement drives. If we could acquire these. Warlord, his chief strategist warned, the Varathians had 300 ships. The humans destroyed them with 57. Perhaps aggression is not. The Varathians were weak. Brathak slammed his fist on the table. They relied on their reputation and their numbers. They didn't anticipate resistance. We would not make the same mistakes. But Warlord. Send scouts. Long range only. I want to observe these humans. Learn their patterns. And when the time is right we will take what we want. Not through clumsy invasion but through cunning. The humans showed the galaxy they can fight. Now we'll show them that intelligence can be weaponized too. The Skrellian officers exchanged worried glances but said nothing. Orders were orders even when those orders might doom them all. Back on Earth, Commander Cross received his 5th diplomatic overture of the day. This one was from a species called the Minari, aquatic beings who offered trade agreements and scientific exchange. How many is that now? He asked Lieutenant Voss. 47 separate contacts in the past week, she replied. The Kelthran offered alliance. The Hepter want trade routes. 3 species we've never heard of sent congratulations on our successful defense action. And 17 species sent what amounts to please don't hurt us messages. Cross rubbed his temples. We went from unknown to infamous in 3 days. The price of victory, Dr. Thorne said, entering the command center. The galaxy ignored us when they thought we were weak. Now they can't ignore us because they know we're dangerous. Are we ready for this? Cross asked. Diplomacy, trade negotiations, potential alliances? We're soldiers and scientists, not diplomats. Then we learn, Ambassador Chinmarisol said, joining the conversation. Just like we learned to build starships in secret and fight an empire. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to adapt. Marcus Okonkwo appeared on a view screen. Commander, I'm authorizing the formation of a new department, Interstellar Relations. Ambassador Chin will head it. We need people who can navigate galactic politics while you focus on defense. Agreed, Cross said. But we need to be careful. Not every species contacting us has good intentions. Some are looking for weaknesses. Others want our technology. And some, Dr. Thorne added, might want revenge on behalf of the Varathians. The Empire has allies. When they learn what happened to their fleet, some might decide to make an example of us. A tactical officer interrupted. Commander, long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships entering the outer solar system. Unknown configuration. They're not broadcasting identification. Everyone tensed. Cross moved to the tactical station. How many? 3 ships. Smaller than Varathian vessels. They're slowing down. Entering a holding pattern at the edge of the system. Weapon status? Can't tell. They're too far out. Cross made a decision. Send a message on all frequencies. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. You have 10 minutes before we treat you as hostile. The wait was agonizing. Then a response came through, translated by the universal language protocols that were quickly becoming standard. This is Captain Crossstar of the Hepter merchant vessel Windseeker. We come in peace to establish trade relations with humanity. We've remained at the system's edge as a sign of respect. We request permission to approach Earth orbit for preliminary diplomatic discussions. Everyone in the command center exhaled. First contact, real first contact, not an invasion, was happening. Ambassador Chin, Cross said. You're up. Chin smiled nervously. Well, I always wanted to make history. Send them approach vectors. But slowly. And keep weapons hot just in case. As the Hepter ships moved carefully into the inner system, Cross watched with mixed feelings. This was what humanity had fought for, the right to join the galactic community on their own terms. But it was also dangerous. Every contact brought new risks, new complications. Commander, Lieutenant Voss said quietly. Do you think we're ready for this? No, Cross admitted. But we'll never be completely ready. That's the nature of stepping into the unknown. We just have to trust that we're smart enough, tough enough, and crazy enough to handle whatever comes next. That's a lot of faith in human ingenuity. It is, Cross agreed. But given what we've accomplished so far, I think we've earned a little faith. On the viewing screen, the Hepter ships moved gracefully through space, their hulls decorated with intricate patterns that spoke of a culture that valued art as much as function. Behind them, the stars stretched infinitely, full of dangers and wonders humanity was only beginning to discover. The Battle of Sol had announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. Now came the harder part, figuring out how to survive and thrive in a galaxy that was far more complex than anyone had imagined. But if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was surviving in hostile environments. Earth had taught them that. History had taught them that. And now the galaxy would learn it too. One way or another, humanity was here to stay. The new galactic order. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Earth had transformed into something unprecedented in human history. A unified world with a purpose that extended beyond its own atmosphere. Commander Damian Cross stood in the observation deck of the newly completed orbital station Unity 1, watching construction crews assemble the skeleton of humanity's first true interstellar vessel. Not a warship but an explorer, the TSS Discovery, designed to carry human ambassadors, scientists, and yes, a military escort to the stars. Beautiful, isn't she? Dr. Evelyn Thorne joined him at the viewport. At 71, she'd refused retirement, saying she had at least another decade of contributing to humanity's future before she'd consider slowing down. She's a statement, Cross replied. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're reaching out. As we should. Evelyn watched the construction with satisfaction. We've made 42 first contacts in the past 6 months. Established trade agreements with 12 species. Formed defensive pacts with 3. Not bad for a species that was supposedly primitive 6 months ago. Cross smiled. The Kelthran ambassador told me yesterday that humanity has completely disrupted galactic politics. Apparently, we're refreshingly unpredictable and terrifyingly innovative. I'm not sure if that was a compliment. Take it as one. Predictable species get conquered or ignored. We're neither. A communications officer approached. Commander Cross, Dr. Thorne. Ambassador Chin is ready for you in Conference Room Alpha. The conference room had become the heart of human diplomatic efforts. Ambassador Chin Marisol presided over a team of linguists, xenopsychologists, and cultural specialists, all working to navigate the complex web of galactic politics. Commander, Doctor, thank you for coming, Chin gestured to seats. We have developments. On the view screen appeared the face of High Chancellor Ziraeth of the Kelthran Collective. Her feathers arranged in what human experts had learned indicated formal respect. Commander Cross, Ziraeth's translated voice was warm. It is good to see you again. I bring news from the Galactic Council. I didn't know there was a Galactic Council, Cross admitted, because humanity was not invited to join. Until now. Zirath's feathers shifted in what might have been amusement. The Council is an informal alliance of 63 species who work together to maintain peace, facilitate trade, and address threats to galactic stability. We meet every standard year to discuss matters of mutual concern. And you want humanity to join? Chen asked. Some of us do. Others, less so. Zirath's tone became more serious. Your defeat of the Varathians has created ripples across the galaxy. Some species view you as potential allies. Others see you as a threat that must be contained. The Council is divided. Where do the Kelthrans stand? Cross asked directly. We believe humanity deserves a seat at the table. You've proven yourselves capable of defending your sovereignty. You've established peaceful relations with multiple species. And your technology, while unconventional, represents innovations that could benefit the entire galactic community, if shared willingly rather than taken by force. Dr. Thorne leaned forward. What's the opposition argument? That humanity is too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to be trusted with full council membership. That you should be watched carefully, contained if necessary, and prevented from expanding beyond your current system until you've proven yourselves less volatile. In other words, Cross said, some species want to keep us in a cage. Essentially, yes. The room fell silent. Then Chen spoke. High Chancellor, what would council membership require of us? Adherence to the Concordat of civilized species. No aggressive expansion into occupied space. No forced technology acquisition. No genocide or species-level warfare. Participation in joint defense initiatives against common threats. And opening your borders to peaceful contact and trade. That all sounds reasonable, Chen said. What's the catch? Zirath's feathers ruffled. The catch is that the Varathian Empire is demanding humanity be tried for war crimes. They claim you used excessive force, employed illegal weapons, and murdered High Executor Zrelkoth unlawfully. Cross felt his jaw tighten. They invaded us. We defended ourselves. I know. Most of the Council knows. But the Varathians have allies, and they're pressuring the Council to sanction Earth. Some species are using this as leverage to prevent your membership. What do they want? Dr. Thorne asked. Concessions, technology sharing, limits on your military expansion. Some want access to your quantum tunnel research. Others want guarantees that you won't develop more weapons like the Zeus cannon. Zirath paused. A few want you to surrender the officers responsible for destroying the Eternal Dominion. Absolutely not, Cross said immediately. We don't surrender our people for defending their planet. I told them you'd say that. Zirath's tone held approval. Commander, I'm going to be blunt. You're about to face your second great test. The first was military, proving you could defend Earth. The second is diplomatic, proving you can work with the galactic community without either surrendering your independence or alienating potential allies. It's a narrow path to walk. What's your advice? Chen asked. Come to the Council. Present your case directly. Some species fear you because they don't understand you. Show them who humans really are. Show them you're not monsters, but you're also not going to be bullied. Find the middle ground between warrior and diplomat. When is the next council meeting? Cross asked. 3 standard months. On the neutral world of Sanctum Prime. I can arrange for an invitation, but Commander. Zirath's expression became grave. Not everyone at that meeting will want you to succeed. Some will try to provoke you to make you appear aggressive and justify their fears. You'll need to show remarkable restraint while also demonstrating strength. It's a challenging balance. Cross looked at Chen, then at Dr. Thorne. Both nodded. We'll be there, Cross said. And we'll show the galaxy exactly who humanity is. After the transmission ended, Cross stood at the viewport again, looking at Earth below. So small. So fragile. But so fierce when threatened. Lieutenant Sarah Voss joined him, now promoted to captain after her actions during the Battle of Sol. Commander, I've been reviewing the Concordat of civilized species. It's comprehensive. Meaning? Meaning it's designed for species who think a certain way. Hierarchical. Patient. Willing to spend decades negotiating. Humans are none of those things. We're going to struggle with galactic bureaucracy. Then we'll adapt, Cross said. Like we always do. There's something else. Sarah pulled up a data pad. Intelligence from Captain Zelenko's monitoring network. The Skrellian Horde has been conducting long-range scans of our system. Very subtle, very careful. But they're watching us. Intentions. Unknown. But the Skrellians have a reputation. They don't conquer directly. They destabilize, provoke conflicts, then move in to restore order and claim territory. If they're watching us, they're planning something. Cross felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders again. Added to the briefing for the council meeting. We need allies who can watch our back while we're dealing with galactic politics. In the months that followed, Earth prepared for its diplomatic debut. Ambassador Chin assembled a team of humanity's finest minds, diplomats, scientists, artists, and yes, warriors. They would present not just humanity's military capability, but its culture, its diversity, its potential. Captain Mira Zelenko, fully recovered from her injuries, took command of the military escort that would accompany the diplomatic mission. We're not expecting trouble, she told her pilots, but if trouble finds us, we respond with the same precision we showed the Varathians. We're representing Earth. Act like it. Dr. Thorne worked tirelessly on a presentation showcasing human scientific achievements, not as threats, but as contributions to galactic knowledge. We need to show them we're more than just warriors, she told her team. We're explorers, inventors, dreamers. That's what makes humanity special. On the day of departure, the TSS Discovery lifted from Earth orbit, carrying humanity's hopes and fears into the unknown. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, sleek, powerful, and beautiful. Its hull bore the symbol humanity had chosen to represent itself to the galaxy. A simple image of Earth, surrounded by reaching hands of all colors. Unity in diversity. Strength through cooperation. Defense when necessary. The journey to Sanctum Prime took 2 weeks through established hyperspace lanes. Along the way, the human delegation encountered dozens of other species traveling to the council meeting. Some were welcoming, offering greetings and well wishes. Others were cold, viewing the humans with suspicion or outright hostility. Captain Zelenko kept her escort ships on high alert. We're in neutral space, but that doesn't mean we're safe. Stay sharp. When they finally arrived at Sanctum Prime, even Commander Cross, who'd seen much in his military career, was awed. The planet was artificial, constructed thousands of years ago as a neutral meeting ground. Massive stations orbited it, each representing a different member species of the Council. Thousands of ships filled the space around it, creating a tapestry of different designs, cultures, and technologies. Welcome to galactic politics, Ambassador Chin said with a nervous smile. The council chambers were vast, designed to accommodate species of wildly different sizes and environmental needs. Humans occupied a platform designated for oxygen-breathing bipeds of medium size, a humbling reminder that in the galaxy's diversity, they were just one more variation. High Chancellor Ziraeth presided over the meeting, her platform elevated above the others. Honored members of the Galactic Council, we convened to address several matters. First among them, the petition of humanity for council membership. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species cheered. Others hissed, clicked, or made sounds of disapproval in frequencies humans could barely hear. Ziraeth raised a wing for silence. The human delegation will present their case. Commander Damian Cross, you have the floor. Cross stepped forward, acutely aware that he was speaking not just for Earth, but for humanity's future among the stars. He'd prepared a speech, but looking at the hundreds of alien faces watching him, he decided to speak from the heart instead. Members of the Council, 6 months ago, the Varathian Empire came to Earth with an ultimatum: surrender or be destroyed. We chose neither. We chose to defend our home, our people, our right to exist as a free species. We didn't start that fight, but we finished it. And now we stand before you, not to apologize for surviving, but to offer something the galaxy hasn't seen in a long time: a new perspective. He gestured to the view screen, which displayed images of Earth. Humanity comes from a world that tried to kill us at every turn. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, ice ages. We survived by adapting, by innovating, by refusing to accept extinction. That same spirit drove us to the stars. When we realized we weren't alone, we didn't hide. We prepared. We built defenses. Because history taught us a harsh lesson: the strong prey upon the weak unless the weak become strong. A Varathian delegate, Subcommander Varix himself, stood. You speak of defense, but you destroyed an Imperial fleet. You killed thousands. You used weapons that violate every standard of civilized warfare. Cross turned to face him. Subcommander Varix, I remember you. You withdrew your fleet when you realized you couldn't win. That was the smartest decision you made that day. You saved lives, both human and Varathian. As for our weapons, we used what we had to defend our home. If the Varathians found quantum tunnel technology uncivilized, perhaps they shouldn't have threatened a species desperate enough to use it. You admit to? I admit to nothing except survival, Cross interrupted. Your empire came to conquer. We defended. If you want to call that a war crime, then I suggest the council examine who started the conflict. Zirath intervened. Commander Cross, what does humanity seek from council membership? 3 things, Cross said. First, recognition of our sovereignty. Earth and its system are ours. We'll defend them against all threats. Second, the right to peaceful expansion and exploration. We won't invade occupied space, but we will establish colonies in unclaimed systems. Third, cooperation. We'll share our innovations with species who share theirs with us. We'll stand with allies against common threats. We'll contribute to galactic peace and prosperity. And what of your military? Asked a delegate from the Skrellian horde, the species that had been watching Earth so carefully. You've built weapons that threaten the balance of power. We've built defenses, Cross corrected. And we'll continue to do so. But we're not interested in conquest. We're interested in security. There's a difference. Dr. Thorne stepped forward. If I may add something? Humanity has scientific knowledge we're willing to share. Medical research that could benefit species across the galaxy. Agricultural techniques. Energy production methods. We're not just warriors. We're scientists, artists, teachers, healers. We have much to contribute if given the chance. A delegate from a species called the Minari spoke, their translated voice musical. The Minari have traded with humanity. We found them fair, honest, and surprisingly generous. We support their membership. Other species chimed in, some supporting, some opposing. The debate raged for hours with humanity's fate hanging in the balance. Finally, Zirath called for order. We will vote. All in favor of granting humanity provisional council membership, subject to review in 5 standard years, signal now. The chamber lit up with signals, some green for approval, others red for rejection, a few yellow for abstention. The count was close. Painfully close. By a margin of 3 votes, Zirath announced, humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Welcome, humans. May you prove worthy of the trust placed in you. The human delegation erupted in relieved celebration. They'd done it. Earth had a voice in galactic affairs. But as Cross watched the voting display, he noticed something troubling. The Skrellian horde had voted in favor of human membership. And from everything intelligence had told him about the Skrellians, they never did anything without self-serving reasons. We need to watch them, he whispered to Captain Zelenko. Already on it, sir. The celebration continued, but Cross felt a familiar tension building. They'd won this battle, the diplomatic one. But he knew humanity's trials were far from over. That night, in the quarters assigned to the human delegation, Ambassador Chen raised a glass of Earth whiskey. To humanity. We came from a small blue planet nobody cared about, and now we have a seat at the galactic table. To humanity, everyone echoed. But Commander Cross stood at the viewport looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, threats still lurked. The Skrellians were planning something. The Varathians wanted revenge. Other species watched humanity with fear or greed or ambition. Lieutenant, now Captain, Sarah Voss joined him. You're not celebrating? I am, Cross said. Just quietly. We've accomplished something remarkable, Sarah. In less than a year, humanity went from hiding in the shadows to standing among the stars. But the hardest work is still ahead. Building alliances? Building a future. One where Earth isn't constantly fighting for survival. Where humans can explore and grow without looking over their shoulders for the next threat. That's going to take decades. Generations maybe. But we started it, Sarah pointed out. Today we proved humanity belongs here. Whatever comes next, we'll face it the same way we faced the Varathians. How's that? She smiled. With courage, creativity, and just enough crazy to make our enemies wonder what we'll do next. Cross laughed. That's the human way, isn't it? Damn right it is. Across the galaxy, on dozens of worlds, beings watched the news of humanity's council acceptance with varied reactions. Some saw opportunity. Others saw threat. A few saw potential friends. On the Varathian homeworld, the Imperial High Command met in emergency session. Humanity has been legitimized, the new High Executor said bitterly. They destroyed our fleet, killed our soldiers, and now they've been rewarded with council membership. What are your orders? An admiral asked. The High Executor was silent for a long moment. Then, Nothing. We do nothing. Humanity has proven itself capable of defending its territory. Any aggressive action would only strengthen their position in the council. Instead we watch, we wait, and we remember. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We can afford to be patient. Humanity's time will come again, and when it does, we'll be ready. On Earth, in a small apartment in Mumbai, Maya Okafor watched the news coverage of the council vote with her mother. Lieutenant Commander Amara Okafor had been grounded due to injury, but her pride in what humanity had accomplished was undimmed. "Mama, does this mean we're safe now?" Maya asked. Amara hugged her daughter. "It means we're safer. And it means that when you grow up, you'll have opportunities one never imagined. You could be a diplomat traveling to alien worlds, a scientist working with beings from across the galaxy, or maybe even a starship captain, exploring places no human has ever seen. What if I want to stay on Earth? That's okay too. The important thing is that now you have choices. That's what we fought for, baby. Not just survival, but the freedom to choose our own future." Maya looked at the stars visible through the window. "The future looks big." "It is," Amara agreed. "And scary. And wonderful. Just like humanity." Back on the TSS Discovery, preparing for the journey home, Commander Cross recorded a message to be broadcast to Earth. "To the people of Earth, today humanity took its place among the stars. We've been accepted into the Galactic Council, recognition that we belong in this vast community of spacefaring civilizations. This isn't just a victory for our generation, but for all the generations to come. Our children will grow up knowing that the universe is open to them. That humanity's future isn't limited to one planet, but extends to the stars themselves. But with this opportunity comes responsibility. We must prove ourselves worthy of the trust placed in us. We must show the galaxy that humanity is more than just warriors, we're explorers, scientists, artists, and dreamers. We must build bridges instead of walls, seek peace before war, and always remember that our strength lies not in our weapons but in our unity. The road ahead won't be easy. We'll face challenges we can't yet imagine. But if the past year has taught us anything, it's that humanity thrives in the face of challenge. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We adapt, we overcome, and we survive. So to everyone watching this, be proud, be hopeful, and be ready. Because humanity's greatest adventure is just beginning. And this time we're writing it together, not as separate nations or cultures, but as one species reaching for the stars. Thank you and welcome to humanity's future. The transmission ended. The ship turned toward home. And across the galaxy, humanity's story continued to unfold. A story of courage and fear, triumph and sacrifice, war and peace. The Galactic Empire had been stunned when humans struck back. Now the entire galaxy was watching to see what humanity would do next. And humanity, as always, was determined to survive, thrive, and carve out its own destiny among the stars. The battle of Soul was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun. And nothing would ever be the same. The end.